Council meeting to order. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, take the roll.
O'Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Holmes.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Atkins Hoggett.
She'll be right back.
Hall.
Here.
DeZio.
Here.
Atkins Hoggett.
Here.
All right, everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes? Oh, we're not there. Oh, public hearings, okay. I guess, all right. Public hearing on zoning map amendment from B2 general business to RM1 multiple family residential and a comprehensive plan amendment from general commercial to medium density residential at St. Croix County tax parcel 236-2041-00-000 Citizen State Banks. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on this? Public hearing. Anybody here that would like to comment on this? Is there anyone who would like to comment on this?
Move to close.
Second.
Got a motion second to close. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Hearing is closed. Discussion of possible action on ordinance 27-18, ordinance rezoning St. Croix County tax parcel 236-2041-00-000 from B2 general business to RM1 multiple family residential and amending the comprehensive plan from general commercial to medium density residential.
Thank you. This request is a remnant parcel, about 6.22 acres, on the northeast quadrant of Hanley Road and Highway 35, so directly north of the the new XL service station and south of Hudson Meadows. The bank took this during the recession a number of years ago. In an effort to make it a more desirable property to market, they're requesting a rezoning designation from rezoning request from B2 to RM1. So what that would mean potentially would be a higher density use, potentially apartments. The land use criteria is anywhere from 6 to 16 dwelling units an acre. Obviously, there is a number of different criteria that have to be met. Lot coverage, open space, buffering, things like that will have to be worked through. The Plan Commission reviewed this at their last meeting and recommended approval unanimously.
Any ideas as to why businesses aren't sort of biting on the property?
No,
Okay.
other than they've had a difficult time.
And there isn't, is there a plan yet for, is there a proposed plan or interested parties with this rezoning, or is this just basically a rezoning just to see what's out there?
I think a little bit of both. I haven't been obviously privy to the discussions or negotiations they've been having. Their attorney is here.
But nothing was brought forward to you?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Move we suspend the rules.
Second?
Got a motion second to suspend. Roll call.
Morissette.
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
DeZio.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Atkins Hoggett.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Rules are suspended.
Motion to adopt ordinance, what are we at, 27-18?
Second.
Got a motion second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing on a zoning map amendment from AR agricultural residential to B2 general commercial for a 5.54 acre M1 portion of St. Croix County tax parcel 236-2068-00-000 Land Devco of Hudson LLC. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on this?
I'm Tom Nielsen. We're kind of opposing a lot of what's happening with this development, but in this particular case, this is, I think, the third time now that there's been a request for a different type of zoning change on this. It was started in August when they didn't present it at all because there had been rebellion against it by the residents up there. So they pulled that part from the zoning approval, and now they're coming back as B2 business. And the thing that bothers us about it is that under that zoning ordinance, under B2, they can still do multifamily housing in there. And we're looking at, there's already a plan for 160 units in there now. And one of our concerns is that with all that's going on at St. Croix Meadows, is this a good time to approve a change for rezone of that when there's so much going on out there already and no one knows for sure how it's all going to turn out? I just think that we just think that this is putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but by trying to change it to B2 business, when I read all the permitted uses there, the one that bothers me the most is housing, because I don't think there'll be a lot of business put out there. There could be a hotel there as far as it goes, but the fact of more residential housing, and we still haven't ever heard a result of what will happen with Mayor Road. And Mayor Road, supposedly the developer is going to handle the repair or rebuild of Mayor Road, but do we really know that for sure? Is that a caveat that's in the development agreement that they will upgrade Mayor Road? Because you look at all this, that's putting a lot of traffic out onto an unimproved street. But we would like to see the rezone of this 5-acre program delayed for a while until everyone knows for sure just what's going on. We're looking and reviewing the plat tomorrow night at planning and zoning, and just our feeling would be we would like to see this delayed, this approval of the rezone to B2 until we know for sure just what's happening out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Anyone else like to make a comment? Any other comments? Any other comments?
Move to close.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Public hearing is closed. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 28-18, ordinance rezoning of a 5.54 acre M1 or L portion of St. Croix County tax parcel 236-2068-00-000 from AR agricultural residential to B2 general commercial.
As the resident stated, this was previously requested to be rezoned to RM1. That did not go through Plan Commission a few months ago. They withdrew that application, have come back with the B2 request. The B2 is consistent with our 2009 future land use plan, which contemplated commercial on basically not only this 5.54 acres, but also an additional, probably the first third, the eastern third of the Lee property. I think the citizen is correct in that, there are a number of uses that could be allowed in a B2 district. Obviously, they're subject to review and approval by Plan Commission and Council, depending upon what those proposed uses are. It could be as little as a standard permitted use. It could be subject to conditional use permit approval, which obviously is a more involved process, or it could be conditioned upon certificate of compliance, which again is a little bit additional review. So to answer the question about mayor, yes, that's included in the pre-development agreement or the annexation agreement. In the capital cost study, the developer is responsible and will be further defined within the development agreement. If the project continues to move forward, that Mayor Road will be completely reconstructed from Carmichael to River Ridge, yes. I would anticipate that construction would take place. The utility work would go first throughout the entire property, and then if the approvals are obtained by the applicant, then we would move into or they would move into the construction of the streets internally, and then pending the completion of that and the build out of that property, the complete reconstruction of Mayor. Obviously we want to rebuild a road and then have it be beat up by construction traffic. So that would be what I anticipate. Plan Commission recommends approval. Questions?
Any questions? Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
You've got, we're doing the
Suspend
ordinance
the
right
rules.
now. You need
Oh,
to
this is the
suspend
ordinance.
the rules.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Roll call.
Morissette,
Yes.
Alms,
Yes.
DeZiel,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Atkins, Hoggett,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Rules are suspended. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance 28-18.
Yes.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mike, what do you see, what does the planning commission see as the advantage to rezoning?
Not in speaking for the plan commission, but I think the challenge in this one is it is consistent with our future land use plan.
Right.
You know, that land use designation, it was contemplated as commercial. Some of the discussion that took place, and Randy and the mayor were there, obviously, was, revolved around, is it going to be multifamily, and is that appropriate? As Mr. Nielsen stated, you know, that's, it sounds like that's one of their concerns. To put that in perspective and what the code requires, if it were to develop as multifamily, you could only do buildings up to 36 units, and 30% of the main level has to be reserved for commercial usage, and no residents can be, there can be no living units on the main level. So the intent there is to have like a mixed use thing going on. You know, it'd be a transition of uses from higher density to lower density as you work your way to the west. But there were concerns, we had probably about a 2.5 hour long public hearing or meeting to discuss all the issues on this property and challenges, and I think that's where most of it revolved around, was the multifamily and the traffic.
And it all kind of fell within the comprehensive plan that was outlined, 10 years ago? Which is due, you know, there's a lot of safety questions up there, a lot of what ifs. And the residents were very adamant about telling us that, so.
Mike, where else have we done B2? Are the Maxwell buildings, is that the Maxwell
Yep,
buildings?
Maxwell
That
buildings are
B2?
B2. Correct. That's a perfect case study of what a 36 unit with 30% on the main level would look like.
Any other questions? Discussion?
I would say, you know, I have an opinion that we need more multi-unit buildings in the city to get the cost down so that people who work here can afford to live here. And I think that's one of the important things. I look very favorably on this from that perspective, assuming that is what would happen there. And I like the concept of having the mixed commercial that could bring in some light commercial. It's not going to be a shopping center, but it's the way that if it developed as the Maxwell building did, I think it's an excellent use of the property.
Further discussion? Everybody ready? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion's approved. Thanks, Mike. Comments and suggestions from citizens. Is there anyone here who would like to comment? Make a comment. It's your opportunity. Anyone have any? Mary Claire? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Mary Claire Olson-Potter. I'm President of the Hudson Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here just to give you a few updates tonight. So, first of all, I want to thank the city and all of your help for the St. Croix Music and Art Festival, which was held back in September. We had over 9,500 people attend the weekend with over 90 artists, entertainment, food vendors. Just a great event, and spectacular weather, so that always helps too. We're getting ready for the tour homes this weekend, where we will welcome 1,600 tour goers to visit 4 privately owned homes in the Octagon House, where they'll stay in hotels. We have girls' getaway. They'll shop in the shops and dine in the restaurants, which is great. I'm excited to announce that Channel 4 TV will be out Thursday morning to do live shots at 5:20 and 6:20. I know, AM. But there's a new reporter with CCO. She's heard about the event through one of the events calendars, which is great for us, one of our ways that we market and promote. And so I called one of the homeowners, and they'll arrive at about 4:40. So I think this is going to be an exciting time. I'm available for breakfast at about 6:30 if anyone is interested. So 5:20 I think is going to be early, but we're excited about that. And also, if you don't want to watch the live tapings at 5:20 or 6:20, if you're up by 9, you can watch the morning show. And Jason DeRusha was out here and spent a weekend. He's also from Channel 4. And DeRusha Eats, and he's featuring Barker's San Pedro del Este. So that'll be on 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, or if you miss it on Thursday, you can watch it at 8 o'clock on Saturday. So, but this is great coverage for Hudson, and it just really promotes and gets our name out there. And so it's events like these that continue to grow the community and continue to make Hudson a great place to live, work, and do business and visit. So the Chamber is in the process of putting together our marketing plan for 2019. And I'm excited to say we're going to re-engage the Tourism Committee, thanks to Councilmember Randy Morset, who's going to work with me on that to get that team re-engaged and put together the marketing plan for 2019. We also are planning our board and committee planning retreat will be held on December 13th, where the Chamber will get together. We just sent out the membership survey today. Appreciate everyone's feedback on that. I encourage you to fill that out because that's what we will use to help determine what our priorities are for 2019. And one of the key initiatives that we will be working on with our members and with a number of partners is attracting and retaining a talent workforce. We have phenomenal jobs here in Hudson in all sectors, from marketing to business services to the restaurants and so forth. So we want to be sure that we're attracting and retaining the best talent for those jobs, and that'll be a key initiative for us. So we look forward to working with you on that. And I just want to say on behalf of the Hudson Chamber, thank you for all of your help and support this past year, since the end of September for me, but before that, and look forward to our continued work together in 2019. Any questions, comments, or? All right, thank you very much.
Nice job, Mary Claire. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. Discussion possible action on consent agenda.
Consent agenda items for tonight are minutes from the regular council meeting of October 22nd, 2018, claims in the amount of $1,379,361.24, financial report for the third quarter 2018, building inspector's report for third quarter 2018, issuance of 4 operators licenses, special event permit for hot air affair, approval of RFP for the sale of property located at 815 5th Street, discussion and possible action on the award of the construction contract for the 2019 amphitheater ceiling replacement project, discussion and possible action on the reallocation of capital funds and approval of the quote for lighting at the Lakefront Park amphitheater, discussion and possible action on the standard operating procedures for shoveling private sidewalks, discussion and possible action on LOE for Highway 35 enhancements, discussion and possible action reallocation of vehicle equipment funds for the purchase of a 2004 VAC trailer, discussion and possible action on reallocation of police department budget salary funds for patrol vehicles and uniform allowance, discussion and possible action discussion and possible agreement on new fee agreement with the Rodley Besker law firm as adjusted by the Finance Committee, agreement between the City of Hudson and Brunson Architects and Engineers, conditional use permit for Summit Ridge subdivision related to the City of Hudson Municipal Code 255-18 and Wisconsin Administrative Code NR 118.07 sub 1 Land Division, conditional use permit for a Summit Ridge subdivision related to City of Hudson Municipal Code 255-18 and Wisconsin Administrative Code NR 118.07 sub 2 planned cluster developments. Conditional use permit for South Point subdivision related to City of Hudson Municipal Code 255-15 planned residential development. Development. Discussion and possible action on additional funding requests to begin the process of design and construction of improvements for the Carmichael Road corridor. Discussion and possible action on a certified survey map at 1225 First Street submitted by Xcel Energy OBO Mary Therese Alberg.
Move we approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Roll call.
Okay. Morissette.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Atkins Hoggett.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on request for extension on timely startup for Trio Group LLC Stone Tap.
Hello, I'm David Robson, Greystone Commercial. I'm the real estate agent that represents the company that owns Stone Tap and was operating Stone Tap. I was the one that secured the buyer that was going to buy the property. That was going to be Ziggy's. They're on the agenda tonight to get a liquor license for a different property because they got pushed back from some of the owners of the property that was going to be surrounding the restaurant because they're going to have live music with residential condos right above the venue. So they chose to withdraw their application on Friday, when the Friday before their liquor license was supposed to be on the agenda for the Common Council a month ago, I believe.
October 22nd, correct.
Thank you. So I'm here to represent the owners because the main owner is out of town. He travels 6 to 7 days a week. That's part of the reason why they shouldn't have been in the restaurant business, but that's a different problem. But at any rate, so one of the problems that they had was obviously this company was serious. That we thought they were the right buyer for the property, and they're obviously serious about being in Hudson because they're here tonight to get a liquor license in a different location.
That's actually coming down the road. So
I'm sorry?
that's not actually on tonight's agenda.
Okay, so
coming
another
down the
meeting.
road,
Sorry,
yes.
my bad.
That's okay.
And I saw it in the paper, so I didn't look at the dates. At any rate, and then it would have physically been impossible for them to operate during the period of them doing demo around the restaurant because of the amount of dirt and debris and so on and so forth that was within the premises while they were doing the demo above and around the property. I have some pictures if you'd like to see them. I have a lot of them, but so this is a picture of some of the heavy debris that's behind one of the booths. It was everywhere in the property. What you had was just pine ceilings with carpet on top of it. They pulled the carpet out and then demoed all the sheetrock walls. The next picture I'm showing is the manager's office. And I'll just try to go here. So don't take up too much time. You can see lots of chunks of plaster. Would have been
I think this is
impossible to clean this up every day to be open for business.
This is a window of some sort.
So that's the debris behind one of the booths, and literally the whole floor in the restaurant area, because it doesn't have suspended ceilings, looks like that. This is the manager's office that had suspended ceilings in it. You can still see tons of debris. Literally would have been impossible to operate. And
This is coming from the construction for
the demo,
the demo for the condos?
yes. Which are above it.
What would have happened if he was still in business?
There would have been a lawsuit. So unfortunately, there's a lag here between, which will allow this to, and part of what they did is they worked hard to get all the demo done quickly around the restaurant so that it wouldn't continue to be a problem. Here's a picture of the men's bathroom, and the contractor, not sure if he's here, Nate's here yet. So Nate Hildren, sorry, is here, and he can speak as well. They're doing everything they can to try and expedite things and get things done quickly so that when we do have somebody to occupy the property, which we thought we had, this part will be done. And so this is done now at this point. They have to now figure out how to seal the floors and keep the debris from keep coming down. But these are the bathroom ceilings in the men's bathroom. And when they would grab pipes under the floor, they would grab them, and the pipes would break off and go shooting down through the ceilings. And if somebody was in there, they would have been severely hurt. You can see water in the light fixture.
Right there. Yeah.
That's a problem, obviously. Water and electricity don't go well together. So it just, I have more if you want more, but they couldn't have operated during this period of time. There's been a pattern of the city allowing people to have more time when there's difficulty in trying to get everything put together. And it would be a substantial decrease in the value of the property if he doesn't have a liquor license. Because it's built out for a restaurant. What else is it going to be without totally rebuilding it? So you can't have a restaurant and bar and grill without a liquor license. He truly needs to have a liquor license to operate and to be able to sell his business or his building.
And if I might say, Nate Hildebrand. I'm with Clearview Developers and Leading Edge Contracting. We are the owner on the developer on the project for the residential condo units above the restaurant. And as David stated, we did, with the restaurant being closed, we've, knowing that they're going to be coming to a period where they want to reopen, we worked very hard. We got our, demo permits to get all the work done that's around the restaurant. But the way that the building had been remodeled prior to, it was kind of like they remodeled up to the bottom of the floor and kind of cut and capped. So that was kind of some of the things with the pipes, and there wasn't a whole lot of pre-thought put into, okay, what's dividing this restaurant from the previously unremodeled space up above. So to get down to a structure where we can actually start our building back up, it got us down to a point where there was just one layer of planking that's full of holes and everything from over the years of this building's been torn apart and changed and remodeled. That's where the dust and debris was able to get into the restaurant. So we have, like I said, we've worked very hard to, within this period of time to get everything done that's in the restaurant area, and are working with the owners of Stone Tap Restaurant to have everything cleaned up and put back in order for, their potential buyer or leasee to come in and be able to begin operating that space as soon as possible.
When do you anticipate cleanup being done?
We've got a large chunk of the cleanup being done. We've actually, a lot of these pictures, we've already cleaned a lot of the areas up, and we're actively working on part of the cleanup, and we're working with the city to finalize our development agreement. We had a demo permit. That's what we've been working with so far to actually finalize our building permit, and then what we'll be doing is sealing up our space from the restaurant space so that any further construction as we're finishing out our units, those spaces will be completely divided.
1 month? 2 months?
2 months.
Yeah. And the request is from the owners for February 2019.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're asking 3 months.
Dave, is the owner still the Trio Group, and do you have a potential buyer in this?
We have lots of potential buyers. We had lots of potential buyers originally. We chose the group.
Going forward, yeah. I don't care
understand.
about the past.
So there's a couple that went away because they found a different solution in the meantime. But I showed this property more than any property I've ever shown in my life. There's lots of activity. I was actually hopeful I'd have a purchase contract or a lease in hand when I came here tonight. We're close, but we're not there yet. So I'm confident that we can meet that deadline.
So will we be issuing the license to Trio Group again?
No, you'll be issuing it to somebody else.
Okay.
So we need a delay on the liquor license because it's going to be issued to a different person.
So who's holding the license?
Trio Group is holding.
Right.
It was extended. They get 90 days for startup. That went through September 28th. We then had the application that fell through. So now they're asking for another extension.
So we
For
can
another
scare the
120
truck
days.
Trio group
Right.
until somebody.
Until someone, till Feb 15th, 2019.
So we're confident by then we'll have somebody here that's competent and capable of being an operator in a restaurant in Hudson and sufficient to get approved for a liquor license.
On the 22nd of October, we got a call on Thursday or Friday before saying that they wanted to withdraw the application.
It was Friday is when I got my cancellation of purchase agreement, so I'm pretty sure you got it the same day.
Is all the equipment still in the kitchen?
Yes, everything's there.
Is that damaged?
No, furniture's, fixtures, equipment's all there. It has to be cleaned, obviously, but everything's there, works fine. It was all 5. It's all 5 years old because that's when they remodeled it.
I'm talking about with what's going on in there now. Has there been any damage?
Just dust and dirt. The kitchen's better because there's ceiling tiles in there. So one of the things that Nate's group is going to have to do is they're going to have to clean the tops of the ceiling tiles off. So they'll pull all the ceiling tile and then vacuum the tops of all the ceiling tiles off.
So
The kitchen's not as bad.
Dave, is 90 days enough for this to get up and operational?
We believe it's time enough to get a liquor license approved, yes.
Yeah, but then you're going to be back here asking for another extension, or someone will be.
If you want to give them more time, that would be fine. We can always get more time and not use it.
Is the extension, can you extend that to the next purchaser? That
Well,
length, you know what I mean?
will happen is someone will come in, their buyer or lessee, and need to apply for a license, and then Trio Group, if they're still, they would still be holding it through the extension, would surrender that license, and if you approve the
But the
other
new.
Potentially, if a new buyer came in and wanted to do some remodeling, they were technically, let's say you issue it in January, let's just say that's a scenario. They would have 90 days automatically
Yeah,
under
right.
our ordinance for a startup
Yep.
period. And if they needed more than that, they would have to, like the theater came at the last meeting and asked for additional time.
And
They would
some
have
have
that
gotten.
90 days.
They automatically in the ordinance have 90 days from the
Yes.
issuance of the license to get started.
Gotcha. Do you think that's a sufficient time frame for a new person to come in to start up?
I think so, especially when he just indicated that they have 90 days to do their build out if they
Right.
need. So once they get their liquor license, they could have some time as well.
Are there any pending applications?
Technically, there's no licenses available
Right,
right now.
I'm
so.
just asking.
There was an application that was made along at the same time they're asking.
Second that.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Discussion and possible action on request for staff to develop a plan for a fire-based EMS service.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, if I could talk about this for a second. So we have a lot going on, obviously, with EMS, and I think what I'm interested in is getting more information on what would be a public option for that. And one of the things I've been exploring is fire-based EMS. I know some of us talked about it in our interviews with River Channel when we were running last time. So toward that end, I visited both Chippewa Falls and Menominee, which are comparable sized communities to Hudson. Both have fire-based EMS, and I was trying to figure out, is this an option for Hudson? Is this something we should look at? And so based on those interviews, and I've had some conversations also with our fire chief about this as well, I think it would be a good thing, I think it would be a responsible thing for us to look at a plan for fire-based EMS in order to make a good decision to see is this is something that could work for our community. I think there's a lot of advantages in terms of efficiencies if you combine them. I think there's advantages in saving an FTD for a directorship. I think the sharing of resources and communication and training could be really good for our community. I think it could help maximize flexibility for our EMS and fire folks. Ultimately, I think it's a big option for keeping local control and public accountability over our EMS service. And in the long run, it could be sustainable because EMS runs do take in income, in a sense. So that might be something that could work out for us. I also think the timing is really good to look at it right now because obviously we have the RFP out there. So there's going to be other folks looking at other options. I'd like to compare the range of options. If we're really going to be honest about it and say we're looking at everything, then we need to look at everything. And one thing is fire-based EMS. Obviously, our neighboring communities are looking for long-term solutions. They're trying to figure out their relationship to Hudson and EMS, and so this is a piece of that puzzle potentially. We also currently don't have a director for EMS, so I think the timing is good in the sense of looking for that right now. We're also on the cusp of building a new fire station, and so I think, I've raised this point before, but I think it would make sense for us to think about having a combined fire and EMS in the new station. If that station is going to be here for 50 years, I'd like to build it where it can be both. Menominee and Chippewa Falls do that, and they both have relatively new stations, and they were unbelievable operations actually to witness how efficient they are. We have a good volunteer paid on call fire department. So that's been great. That's been a real gift to the community, and I think our chief is doing a great job with that. There's no guarantee that in 5 years that's going to be the way we can do fire, or in 10 years that's going to be the way we can do fire. A lot of communities that are relying on volunteers are struggling. We're not right now, fortunately, but in the foreseeable future, that's a distinct possibility. So I think we need to be proactive and say, what would it look like to have those full-time fire EMS kind of combined? There's a lot of ways to do it, and I don't have the answer for that, nor the experience. So my motion would be to basically to direct our fire chief, our EMS coordinator, our city administrator, and our finance person to give them 30 days to come up with a plan. What would this look like in terms of staffing options, resource sharing, overall benefits and challenges? Come up with a timeline. What would it cost? You know, people throw out all kinds of numbers for other programs, or be looking at RFPs. It's only fair to say, well, what would this actually cost us? We don't know until we have a plan. So that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm willing to push this evening, because I just think it's responsible for us to look at all of our options. And again, it would be a public-based option where we would have a lot of control over running it, which I think is really important for the people of the city. So,
Paul, you were talking earlier, at least the item was an RFP, but then you talk about our staff people putting together a proposal. Is there a difference? But what's the?
Yeah. So, and you know, certainly Josh is here, and I think fire chief is back here, and they can talk about this as well. I know that EMS is working on something, so I don't know if Josh wants to talk about that. I've had conversations with both, and the reason I'm bringing it to the council level is I feel like...
I'm just asking, which way do you want to go? An RFP?
The RFPs are already out for the EMS portion.
For the EMS portion, yeah.
Because we were directed to do that. So.
This was specific to an RFP for a fire-based EMS.
This is not an RFP. This is just having staff develop
study
a plan or whatever.
Did I misread that?
Yep.
Okay.
The second page says authorizing staff to create a plan.
All right, there we go. That's better. I'm sorry, I was operating on some different information. Okay.
I guess my question would be, how much time will go into creating that plan, and to what degree is that plan? And I don't know if that is something that you have kind of a sense for. Josh, I have a question for you. I'm just wondering, so in the last meeting, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, right? We talked about RFP, and we talked about St. Croix EMS being part of that proposal. Mm-hmm. Are you working on a proposal right now?
I am.
Josh?
Yep.
Okay. Is it fire-based EMS?
No.
Okay. So it's some other proposal that you're bringing forward?
Correct.
Is it municipally based, or?
Partially, yeah.
Okay. So I guess that would be my question as we look at that versus Josh coming up with a proposal and working really hard on that one proposal. Are we spreading things too thin? I don't know. That would be my only trepidation with it, would be how much staff time, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Does anybody have a sense how long that would take, Brenda or Scott?
I do want to interject one other thing. The timeline would be set, by the staff. So this isn't like flipping a switch where overnight you'd say, we have fire-based EMS. The fire chief in Menominee, Jack Boss, basically said this could be as simple as getting in one building and getting under one chief, and then over time replacing people who leave by hiring paramedics and then training them for fire. So this could be a process. So I think before it gets too big, that's why I'd like to have the department heads think about it and work on it and communicate together, because it could be a gradual plan as well. So.
Was Bill more your question on the 30 days to get it done? Was that what you were referring to?
Yeah,
Josh?
is that enough time, number one? I mean, my understanding of all my conversations with Chief St. Martin has been that there's a lot of different ways that we can put it together. Do you feel comfortable that 30 days would be enough time?
Honorable Mayor, common council members, I think that's pretty aggressive because this is kind of wholesale changes of the whole how everything would operate. Also, I think, as you said, the EMS operations supervisor has a direction he feels at this time that is the best fit for the city. I'm not sure I would like to compete with that. And I mean, I think he's at this point, not saying that we couldn't look at this further down the road.
I think we should flush one thing out at a time, and if he's already halfway down the road, maybe we need to take a pause on yours. I'm not opposed to the idea of exploring it, but we need to hear what he's got first, I think. We've spent a lot of time and energy on that. We should take a look at that first, and then maybe come back and revisit your proposal. As the chief said.
What's the timing on hearing the RFPs?
I don't know.
November. The RFPs, so they're due on November 29th or 30th?
29th or 30th. 29th, I think, yeah.
And then we're looking at interviewing on the week of December 10th.
Okay,
So we had, I think the interviews that you talked about, I had said that I thought we should explore perhaps a combined service. And in my discussions with both entities at the time, it seemed to be an option that wasn't going to work. And in essence, especially with my conversation with Chief St. Martin, it looked as though it was going to cost us significantly more money than two separate services. So has anything changed, Scott, or?
Obviously, we've had this somewhat of a discussion before. I applaud Councilmember DeZiel, put a lot of effort in this, and he has a lot of really good points. Couple things that are a little bit different with both Chippewa and Menominee are they've been full-time fire for years, 60, 70 years. They took this on as kind of an evolution where we aren't. We're the paid on call, so it's a huge step. So money-wise, we could, just really cut to the chase and look at their budget. I mean, and they one difference too is they both run 2 fire stations, so that is one difference that we would versus one. There's a lot of other variables in there, but to answer your question, money-wise, I can't see where it would be more reasonable to do that at this time without doing a full study.
So in order to make it work, and we talked about this as well, people would have to be cross-trained. Firefighters would have to be trained as EMTs or paramedics, and vice versa. Is that something that you see your staff willing to do, or as far as bringing on new staff, as far as volunteers, is that something, are volunteer firefighters wanting to also be?
Ultimately, in the fire-based models, that's what they do. I think Councilmember DeZiel has mentioned possibly doing like kind of a evolution of it, which it would obviously take a lot of time to think about. Our people right now, our staff and senior staff and officers, their feeling is they would like to continue to operate the way we are right now. Don't have a ton of interest in moving to that model. And fortunate as we are able to staff now, and there's no guarantee we could be, like you say, tomorrow or 5 years not be able to staff. At this point, though, their feeling is they'd like to stay operating as we are. One concern I have of no matter what model it is getting employees. There's a shortage of paramedic firefighters. It's getting much harder to staff, as we kind of see throughout. That is a concern. Another concern is that if EMS right now feels they have a good model and they want to go in a direction, I think it would be very tough to try and combine if they're not 100% on board. And I respect Josh's opinion, and EMS is moving forward and working. I believe you put $5,000 for a consultant to come and help with them develop a plan. Maybe that's the direction right now. Not that you can't look at something else further down the road, but that's kind of my opinion at this point, and the kind of the staff's feeling and at the fire that they right now would like to continue this model.
Josh, obviously it was not you I talked with before, so do you have anything new to add from fire or from the EMS perspective on this?
I'm not opposed to looking at it as an option, but I think we just need to make a decision on, because we're halfway through the current RFP that's out there. And I think if we add it, I don't know if Mr. DeZiel's looking to have it as part of a proposal during the RFPs.
What I'm looking for is, okay, I'm sitting on the council as the rest of us are, and we're going to have a lot of proposals coming at us. To me, this has to be one. It just has to be there, because we need a public option that we can look at in fairness with the others and say which direction we want to go. If we keep pushing it off, I just think that's not helping the council to look at all the facts out there. I also think, and I respect what you guys are saying, but change is hard. And as an elected official, I have to look at what's best for the city of Hudson and for the people. And sometimes it's bigger than our departments. And so I think we have a responsibility here to say, what could you guys come up with? Maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 40 days. We can play with the number. But what would it look like? The fact that Menominee's doing it, they're doubling what we're doing. They run 2 different stations, and they're charging $20 and $20.50 per capita. They're in our neighborhood. They know how to do it. So I don't know the history, and I know we're different volunteer based. I have to believe we can do this, but we can't do it without your cooperation. And what I'm asking for is your cooperation.
I have a quick interjection. Sorry, Paul. So here's a question. I get where you're coming from, Paul. What is your hope, Josh, with the proposal that you're putting together, how soon that could be enacted, roughly? 1 year, less than 2?
Probably less than 2 for sure, probably a year.
How long would it take to enact fire-based EMS, roughly? If we were just to say...
Probably similar. One of my big concerns is, and with Chippewa and Menominee, is their bases. They have fire within their city in certain areas, but then they have a pretty expansive EMS base for surrounding communities, as Councilmember DeZiel mentioned, and they're getting that per capita. A really big concern for me is we have partners who are now leaving or have left, more partners talking about leaving. That's a grave concern to me as far as trying to get income, and part of their success is having their communities, surrounding communities, being involved. So in asking us to develop a plan, again, if we look later on this evening, I think we have another partner who's looking at possibly getting out of their contract. What plan do we design, and do we design it strictly for the city? Do we design it for our partners? How does that look down the road? So it makes it really hard for me to say, we're going to do this part just for the city. You're not going to gain the efficiencies of doing all the other surrounding communities. Then we also negotiate contracts with our partners, our fire partners. How do we start doing that if they're not on board for EMS, but they're on board for fire? It does get very complicated, and that's where you get into lots of options in trying to create this RFP or a response. And I respect it and I appreciate all the hard work, but I need a really clear, definitive direction of exactly what you're looking for, who's going to be in on it, and what's going to happen. And in this case, is the per capita, is that an option, or is no per capita an option? So there's really a lot of variables to come up with a reliable, for me to come with you and present something, and time is one, but then I just need to know what are the metrics that you want me to base this on. And right now it seems like those metrics are somewhat fluid, and we don't have that. So
I just had the sense, though, I thought that it would take longer than less than 2 years to sort of go full-time fire and fire-based EMS. Is that not true?
it would take a while. It depends again on what we're looking at, and
Okay.
you know, and the scope of what we're looking at.
Scott, are you thinking that in order to go, and I don't know if I want to call it fire-based EMS or EMS-based fire or what, but in order to consolidate for a plan to work where you're going to have people that are cross-trained, are you thinking that they're all going to have to be full-time people? Are we going to do away with our volunteer fire department and go full-time?
We would still need to augment with some. I think I believe Menominee has 20 paid on call. So we would still need to try to augment with that. What you typically see when you do this transition is you do lose a lot of people too, which is kind of a natural progression. But you know, you're still able to retain.
So are we going to be going forward, if we do this, in order for a plan like this to work, and obviously we don't have a proposal in front of us, but as you would envision it, are we moving right now, if we were to do that, are we moving right now to a full-time firefighter positions?
From my understanding is that's what the proposal or the request is, to do full-time staffing.
So we're taking a fire department that's working extremely well, probably a model for this side of the state anyway, and we're rolling the dice with it.
That's not a fair statement, I don't think. What we're trying to do is become better for the citizens by providing a safer emergency service because it's more efficient. So, and in the long run, I think it's more sustainable. And all I'm asking for tonight, I'm not asking for a vote to do fire-based EMS tonight. All I'm asking for is information. I don't think we can make good decisions without good information. All I'm asking for you guys to do is put your heads together and say, what would this look like? We don't know what it would look like, but I would love your opinions because you're professionals. But I can't do my job here if I don't have good information. None of us can. So it's a matter of requesting information. I don't see why we would not want more information about fire-based EMS.
I think we do, because it may be the model out 5-10 years from now, but I don't see it as the model that we can implement in the next 2 years, because everything we've seen in looking at it from the ad hoc committee was that it's full-time. That model works, but it's full-time. Everybody's full-time. So we go to a full-time fire department, which is more costly than a full-time EMS service. So we can, that's fairly obvious, but I think we need to look at how, is this a model that we want to look at at some point in the future? Is this, do we need to be thinking about this is where we're going to end up at some time because of our size, with a complement of the 20 part-times. How many full-time people does Menominee have? Do we know that? Is that?
I think Menominee's 24.
24 and one was 28. Yeah. Does that sound right?
Huge difference. Then that's, and those
but
are more expensive.
They're running double the stations. I don't know the page number.
Well,
we have eight full-time equivalents, and let me think. Tell me if this is right. We had 3 in fire and 8 full-time equivalents, and we have 3 in fire, sorry, and 8 in EMS right now.
Let me caution.
11 full-time equivalents, and so my point is, we need probably 12 to get there. So we're if we're running half of what 24 is.
Not even close.
You guys, let me caution you on cost, because the per capita, don't get caught on $20, because that's not true. The fair shared revenue of the state that Menominee gets is far substantially more than what we get, which is supplementing, if not all of that, not all of it, a big share of that operation. I mean, they're well over, I believe, in the $2 million shared revenue.
Sure, and I might be wrong, but I would love to see a plan that shows that. Because right now, we're doing a lot of decision-making without facts. And what I'm asking for is facts.
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Or even an outline of a plan.
Exactly.
That has some, we're all saying, oh, this isn't feasible. We're cutting the whole idea off at the knees. I completely think that it deserves, it deserves some time and attention and outline. I've said since I had this chair that, in order to analyze all the options, we need a SWOT analysis on many options. And right now we're looking still at just one from 2 companies, but that's not a bunch of options. That's still just the one.
We have Josh
So that's
putting
3 or 2 options.
which is municipal based.
Which is municipal based,
Which
but this is another option that would be municipally based. Why would we cut off an idea at the knees just based on an assumption that, we're going to have volunteer problems in the future. We are not going to be able to staff it with people who want to do both fire and EMS. Whereas those are assumptions. Those are assumptions to what our picture is going to be in the future. And if we're going to have volunteer problems anyway, well, we might as well be looking at this as a full-blown plan right now.
Which I think is an assumption as well. I mean, who's not
If
to
we're
say
just
volunteer doesn't work for 8-10 years?
Well,
The other thing
we won't know, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't study this as an option.
Yeah. I agree that we should study this, but I don't think a 30-day time frame is, and including it as part of the options that we're looking at, these are going to be, I think, more short-term options, things that we can implement fairly quickly and ensure that our services stays excellent. I think the fire-based one is, we looked at this before, and it is not a cheap option. It's going to be more costly. Like I said, we could go full-time EMS and spend a heck of a lot less money and do the 5 or 6 people we need to get the full-time EMTs, so everybody has a functioning job, and it would save us. It would be cheaper than a full-time EMS fire situation.
But you're forgetting they're the same people.
No, they're not.
Yeah, because they're cross-trained under fire-based.
They're not all cross-trained.
That's what Menominee's doing. That's what Chippewa Falls is doing. That's what Eau Claire's doing. That's what Oakdale's doing. That's what Maplewood's doing.
And they start with full-time fire. They start with a full-time fire department and work from there.
Then the plan that I'm asking for would show us how to get there. All I'm asking for is the start of a plan. I'm not telling what the plan has to be. That's what our professionals can do. Mr. Mayor, at this point, I would like to do the option, or make the motion, and I move to direct the fire chief, EMS coordinator, city administrator, and city budget director to create a plan. I'm open to a different time frame. If you have a suggestion, more than 30 days, I'm totally open to that. 45 days, 60 days. Showing staffing options, resource sharing, overall benefits and challenges, a timeline and costs involved in merging Hudson Fire and EMS into one facility under one chief. That's my motion. We'll say 60 days.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion, a second.
I think it lacks that it's too short a time frame, 60 days, for them to be doing this in lieu of their current jobs. It's also probably needs some outside resource that actually has experience in doing this to be able to come in and help us with this. Someone who's gone through this transition, who knows has helped other organizations go through this transformation. I just think we're expecting an awful lot of our staff to do this.
Some problems are hard and we have to expect a lot, and if we want a long-term solution that takes this city 20 years into the future, then we need to take the time to do it right, and to do it right now.
That's why I say this is not doing it right.
Cutting off an option, I don't
No,
think,
I'm saying
without
this
considering it.
method, the proposal we have in front of us is not doing it right. It lacks depth, and it needs more support, outside support than we have available.
So we have the Fire Chief Menominee willing to help us. We have 60 days to get what you're talking about by the professionals involved. The plan could be as simple as whatever they come up with, but it could be as simple as we're going to put them in one building under one chief. That's step one. And maybe run sort of like what we're doing, and then in a year from now, we're going to add a layer to that. So here's my thing. I don't think we have the kind of time, Jim, and I respect what you're saying, and I know you've done a lot of background work with it. I don't think we have that kind of time because we have neighboring communities who are trying to pull out, and we're kind of on hot seat, and we got RFPs out there, and we got to make some big decisions in the next couple of months. So I think we just can't delay it. I think we gotta get it started. We don't know what the plan will look like, but if it comes back, it could be something very simple, and we could always augment that as we go. So
I think we need to wait. I think it's counterproductive for us to throw something else up in the air, see if it sticks. And let's flush out what they're doing first, what we approved, and support what they're doing. You've always said, let's support, let's perceive. Reality is perception. So let's support what Josh and the EMS is doing right now. Let it finish out before we go jumping into something else and get over our head. Because then we're not going to make any good decisions either. My point.
Anybody else?
I think that, I agree with Paul that we need to look at this and have some kind of report that shows that we've done our due diligence on this. So I agree, but I also think that we've got too many balls in the air already. I don't think that the time is right to start this, and I would suggest that we, because we've got enough information now to know that this isn't a short-term solution. This is a long-term solution. So let's develop it as a long-term solution, but not have a short timeline on it at this point. Have it as a long-term goal to develop this, to flesh this out.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion's not approved. Discussion and possible action on the final master plan conditional use permit for a planned commercial development at the St. Croix Meadows redevelopment site, St. Croix Meadows LLC.
Yes, thank you. So this and the next three items are all pertaining to different pieces of the St. Croix Meadows redevelopment site. Both the St. Croix Meadows side or the east side of the proposed Bracken Drive, as well as the west side, which is owned currently by Phillips Medisize. I am joined by Wendy Sander with Cedar Corp. She's going to walk us through, you might have remembered her from a couple of meetings ago when we went through the preliminary master plan and CUP. She's going to walk us through the next few items. Plan Commission did meet prior to this meeting at 4:30 and recommended approval with some conditions on all of these items. So with that, I'll turn it over to Wendy. We also have SEH as well as the development team here to answer questions as well. So,
good evening.
Evening. Evening.
Well, we'll try to get you through this part. The first item that you have before you is the final master plan and conditional use permit for the St. Croix Meadows. And again, this is a 130-acre, the former Greyhound racing track area. And you did approve preliminary master plan and CUP back in August. So this final master plan does conform to that preliminary master plan. And what will need to happen in the future for the development of the buildings throughout this site is everything will need to conform to this master plan. And so if there is to be any changes in the future, if they change building types, building sizes, those kind of things, they will have to bring those back to you for an amendment to this master plan. So this is to stand as their conditional use permit that will be on record, and that is what the future development plans will match. Staff has been going through numerous plans, streets, utilities, grading, storm sewer, those kind of things. And the development team has been busily making some corrections and changes to some of those engineering needs along the way. A couple of items that we all noted as staff and were discussed at the Plan Commission prior to this meeting. And one of those is intersection improvements. It's Brecken Drive goes through the middle of this site. Phillips Medisize is on the west side, and the rest of the development basically on the east side. And so we looked at and analyzed those intersections on the north with Albert Street, and then Brecken Drive where it aligns with Carmichael and County Road F on the southern end. Plan Commission had a lengthy discussion on those intersection improvements, especially on the south portion of Brecken Drive, the proposed Brecken Drive, and Carmichael Road. And I'll come back to that in just a second. A couple of other items that we looked at as staff and have recommended some changes to would be at least a better look at the pedestrian and bicycle connectivity throughout this site. There's a number of 8-foot wide sidewalks, and we would like a little better look at some of those and how bike trails and such can go through this site. Staff did make 7 recommendations or conditions that we recommended for this master plan. Plan Commission did recommend approval of this final master plan and conditional use permit with those 7 conditions, plus an additional 8th condition that you don't have on your staff report in front of you. That was to install conduit at Carmichael Road and Brecken Drive on the south end for future traffic control signal lights. They also recommended that the need for these traffic lights be analyzed in approximately 8 months. We had some discussion if it would be 6 months, a year, but they settled on 8 months from now to review those signals. And so again, we did have a lengthy discussion on safety and concerns in that area. There was a public hearing at the Plan Commission for this final master plan and CUP. And there were several residents on the Tower Road area that did speak and were concerned about traffic in that area and how that intersection aligns with Carmichael. And so that was some of the consensus. We did have some discussion, should the stoplights be installed now? And we did have, Glenn from SEH did have a discussion with us at Plan Commission about the traffic needs. So an entire traffic study was completed for this site, and the recommendation at this point was that lights were not warranted because of the traffic counts that are projected on this development. So again, Plan Commission did recommend approval of this with the 7 conditions from staff, along with the conduit being installed on the South Brecken Drive intersection. So,
I can tell you that I was the one that was trying to put a number 8 on there as far as the conditions to actually put the stoplights up now, and that failed to come out of committee because they want to wait and see. It's basically the only excuse that was brought up.
Currently,
my opinion.
Yeah, currently the traffic study did not warrant the lights.
And as I said, I would caution on safety and engineers' numbers and traffic studies. They can give us all the numbers. The people that are up there, that live up there, actually see and go through these intersections every day. That's what I listen to. That's who I'm accountable to.
I think it was also mentioned at the committee, brought forward a couple different points. Number one, the conduit would go in, and that would provide relief. But I think probably more compelling is the fact that right now all we're talking about is one building going up. It's going to be quite a while before that building is even up. And I doubt it'll be up in 8 months, right? And the whole project right now is expected to go until the development to 2024 in the phases that we're doing. So the traffic problem that we're talking about is not going to be realized, or even any traffic situation we have out there compounded for quite some time. So 8 months, I think, is probably even a little early to be looking at it, because we're really not going to have any idea what that traffic pattern is going to look like for some time yet. But we agreed to the 8 months, and when 8 months are up, we can agree to whatever, another 8 months, or, you know, and I think Plan Commission member Rhodes had also said that if we go with the more expensive putting traffic lights in right now, the expense is ours, and it would be a pretty good expense, and then we're kind of stuck with it. That's it. Whereas if we hold off for a while, wait, we can determine if in fact that's going to be necessary. So we're not going to realize any real traffic change out there for some time. So to put lights out there right now, I think the Plan Commission had decided it just probably wasn't wise to do that at this point. Did I say that correctly?
Mm-hmm. No.
It depends on your side.
Depends on your side.
I guess one of the questions around that is what else is going to be done to County Road F or Carmichael, whatever you want to call it, there at that intersection, because that's really a confused road at that point right now. It does not have appropriate lanes to handle the traffic that's going through there.
And we had the maps and everything show the reconstruction of the lanes and everything else, and so.
And the other thing is we're working already with Robbie over at the county to make sure that whatever we do, you know, that they're in agreement with what we're proposing. Because obviously, as things grow and develop, we've got to make sure that, I mean, that is a county highway south of this project. So whatever we do there, they have to be on board with it.
And there's also a pretty scary intersection just south of there.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
I can do it from the experience that I lived out there, and I drove that for 35 years.
That's a great point, and that was
and
what
it's scary.
Some of the residents on Tower Road shared and echoed that sentiment of just, and part of that issue is the angle at which some of these intersections come in, Tower especially. It's a very awkward angle in which you approach, and especially if you're trying to head southbound or northbound for that matter, how uncomfortable that can be. So I think long term, as we look at that, it's imperative that we look at making sure that we line up our intersections, look at realignment, and some of those opportunities can arise as we make some of those pedestrian and trail improvements.
Yeah. And that is also, Cooley is a major bike trail route south and east.
Yes.
So it's
And just a note, since the submission, staff has been working with the development team extensively on that portion of Carmichael or County Road F through that area to look at how to make the turn lanes proper through that area, and they have come up with a couple of options through that area that we're working out that I think will work out well. So.
And those are in your packet too.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm not opposed to the project. I just want to err on the caution of safety. That's why I wanted to put stoplights up there.
The road is being constructed as it were going to be lighted in the future, though, correct? Since the conduit is going to be
the
put
conduit will
in.
be in. The turn lanes will be there. Yes.
Gotcha.
All right. Anything else? Do we have a motion?
I'll move we approve the conditional use permit.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on introduction of Resolution 19-18 to set a public hearing date to partially discontinue a portion of public right-of-way generally located along the northwestern area of the St. Croix Meadows redevelopment site, Phillips Metasize.
Yep, in your packet, there is a small area of right-of-way up on the northwest corner of this St. Croix Meadows project that Phillips Metasize is requesting to be vacated. It is an area that will no longer be used as an access into this site, and they would prefer to redevelop that area and use it as part of their parking lot. So they are requesting a street vacation. It is, again, a very small area, and it shows in your packet.
Move to suspend the rules.
No, we're just introducing the resolution, not adopting it. That's part of the procedure.
The hearing will be coming back on the January 7th meeting. It will go to your Plan Commission in December for recommendation.
So it's just a motion to introduce.
So, yep, you're just introducing this one.
So move.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on the certificate of compliance for new Phillips Metasize facility and office.
A few months ago, you did revise your zoning code 255 to allow technology and research-based manufacturing within your B2 zone. And Phillips Metasize is requesting their certificate of compliance as required by your code, and this was recommended by Plan Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on final development plans for St. Croix Meadows redevelopment, Phillips Metasize.
Okay, so Phillips Metasize has brought forth their final development plans. We did at Plan Commission review the concept and final development plans for this project. This is their last step in order for them to proceed with a building permit. So they have submitted their plans, and staff is busily going through all of those, looking at this first phase of their project. This is on the western 34 acres of the St. Croix Meadows site, and this portion of the final development plans does conform to the final master plan that you just approved moments ago. They're looking at a 220,000 square foot building with approximately 36,000 square feet of that being office space. If you see the plans in your packet, it's quite a nice looking facility that they are looking to do. And the staff has been looking at their landscaping plans, parking layouts, and all of those things, and they are busily changing and revising to fit your code, and it's all coming together quite well.
Move to approve final development plans.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Good, thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you very much for your help tonight. Before we take up the motion for closed session, I just wanted, while people are still here, I did want to say that I appreciate all the hard work that all of our staff members who were involved did on election night, and everything up to elections, the early election process, absentee balloting, all of that. I thought they did a great job, and thank you so much for all you did, and thank you for keeping us out of the news.
Well, and also to thank the election workers as well, because that's a long day for them too. But I think you all got the report. Our turnout was just under what the last presidential was. I mean, and that for a off year, well, not off year, but a non-presidential year, it was pretty substantial. As you know, it was 60% 4 years ago. So that was, I said, that we had enough ballots. We had, it got a little crazy at some of the places a little bit, but we shuffled staff around and we were able to get everybody through. So, not to my knowledge, no incidents at all. So thank you to everybody.
Great. All right, discussion of possible action on convening into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E to deliberate regarding negotiating strategy with respect to A, possible agreement with Village of North Hudson regarding termination of EMS agreement as of December 31st, 2018, and B, negotiating of development agreements between the City of Hudson and River City Center LLC 105 and 109 Second Street, St. Croix County, parcel numbers 236-0021-00-000, 236-0336-00-000, 236-0023-00-000, 236-1207-00-000, and the unrecorded partial discontinuance of public right-of-way approved by the City of Hudson Common Council on Resolution 13-18 on October 22nd, 2018.
Move to go in closed session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call.
Morissette.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Atkins Hoggett. Yes. Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved. We will adjourn to, well, recess or whatever, go across over to office across the hall, and we will be back. Back in open session. First thing I wanted to say is that with respect to the North Hudson issue, we have reached no decision on that. And then the next issue is the resolution.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Got a motion second to suspend. Roll call.
Morset.
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Brazil.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Atkins Hoggett.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Move to adopt Resolution 20-18 on the conditions staff work with Attorney Tofty to finalize annual appropriation language.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. I've got no further announcements. Anybody else?
I will be sending a couple budget updates out to you in the next couple days by email.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.